Wolfe and Danielle Colby are both well-known figures in the world of reality television, particularly for their roles on the hit show American Pickers. Their personalities and chemistry on the show have made them beloved by many fans. However, their recent appearance in court has raised many questions and stirred a lot of curiosity. What happened that led them to address an apology in court? What is the situation with Frank Fritz, a key figure in their show, and why has this legal matter become such a talking point? These are the questions that people are asking, and the answers are not as simple as they may seem. Wolfe and Danielle Colby's appearance in court marks a significant moment in their careers and personal lives. It is not every day that well-known TV personalities find themselves in the spotlight for reasons other than their work. This court appearance isn't about a simple legal issue or a minor dispute. Instead, it involves something much more complex and personal, something that has caught the attention of both their fans and the public at large. To understand why they were in court and why they apologized, one must first understand the context of their relationship with Frank Fritz, a former co-host on American Pickers. For years, the trio of Mike, Danielle, and Frank made American Pickers a success. The show, which revolves around the search for rare antiques and treasures hidden in people's homes and barns, has earned millions of viewers. Fans were drawn not only to the fascinating finds they uncovered but also to the relationships between the hosts. Mike and Frank in particular had a deep bond that seemed like a real friendship. However, over time, cracks started to appear in their relationship. Frank's absence from recent episodes of the show raised eyebrows, leading many fans to speculate about what was happening behind the scenes. The situation escalated when Frank Fritz's health and personal struggles were made public. Fans started to question whether his departure from the show was due to personal issues, health problems, or a falling out with Mike and Danielle. As time passed, rumors began to swirl. Was there tension between Frank and the rest of the cast? Was he being pushed out, or was he leaving on his own terms? These questions led to a lot of speculation, and the silence from Mike and Danielle only added fuel to the fire. Fans wanted answers, but none were forthcoming. The court appearance and the subsequent apology from Mike and Danielle finally shed some light on the situation. They addressed the issue head-on, acknowledging the hurt that had been caused by their actions or lack of actions. For the first time, they spoke openly about Frank's departure, the tensions that had built up, and the role they played in the unfolding drama. The apology wasn't just about offering an explanation for what happened, it was also about taking responsibility. Mike and Danielle admitted that they could have handled things better, both with Frank and with the fans who had supported them over the years. Their decision to apologize in court was not a simple formality. It was a public acknowledgement of the complexity of the situation, the pain it caused, and the need for healing. What makes this situation particularly intriguing is the underlying tension between public image and private reality. Fans of American Pickers had grown to love the dynamic between the three hosts. It was not just about the antiques they found, it was about the relationships that developed on screen. When those relationships falter, it impacts not just the people involved but also the audience. The court appearance and apology were an attempt to repair that bond with their fans. But why did it take so long for Mike and Danielle to address the issue publicly? What kept them from speaking out sooner? These are the questions that remain unanswered, and they only add to the mystery of what really happened behind the scenes. As much as this situation involves Mike and Danielle's careers, it also touches on their personal lives. For years, they had kept their private struggles hidden from the public eye. They were known for their on-screen personalities and their ability to entertain, but now they were forced to confront the reality of their relationships and the consequences of their actions. This court appearance was a moment of reckoning, not just for their careers but for their personal growth. The apology they offered in court was not just for Frank or their fans. It was a reflection of their own journey, their own mistakes, and their efforts to move forward. In the end, the question that lingers is what will happen next. Will this apology be enough to mend the broken ties? Can Mike and Danielle repair their relationship with Frank, or is the damage too deep to fix? And most importantly, what impact will this situation have on their future careers? Will fans continue to support them, or will this controversy forever change how they are viewed? These are questions that only time will answer, but the fact that Mike and Danielle addressed the issue head-on is a step in the right direction. It shows that they are willing to face the consequences of their actions and work towards making things right. Whether or not that is enough remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: the public's curiosity about this situation is far from over, and the story is far from finished. The court apology by Wolfe and Danielle Colby has become one of the most talked about events in the world of reality television. As two of the main stars of American Pickers, their lives are closely followed by millions of fans. The show, which has been a massive success, is based on Mike and Frank Fritz traveling across the United States looking for valuable antiques. The dynamic between the hosts, including the bond they shared with Frank, was a huge part of the show's charm. So when Frank's sudden absence from the show raised questions, it didn't take long for rumors to start circulating. Fans were desperate for answers. What happened? Why was Frank no longer part of the show? Why did Mike and Danielle seem to avoid talking about it? Wolfe and Danielle Colby's court apology was their chance to address everything openly, to finally clear the air and give their side of the story. What many fans didn't realize is that the apology wasn't just about clearing up a misunderstanding. It was about acknowledging deep issues within the team and the show itself. The court setting only added to the seriousness of the moment, making it clear that the situation was far more complicated than anyone might have assumed. For the first time, Mike and Danielle publicly addressed the tension between themselves and Frank, and the impact it had on their relationships both professionally and personally. The curiosity surrounding their court appearance stems from the fact that fans had been kept in the dark for so long. The absence of Frank Fritz from the show had been an ongoing topic of speculation. Fans had seen Mike and Danielle continue the show without Frank, but there had been no clear explanation. The decision not to speak about it openly only deepened the mystery. Many viewers wondered if there was a rift between the hosts, if Frank had left on bad terms, or if something else had been going on behind the scenes. The silence was deafening. When Mike and Danielle appeared in court and apologized, the floodgates of curiosity opened. The question on everyone's mind was simple: why now? Why did they choose this moment to speak out? Were they forced into it by legal matters, or did they genuinely feel the need to address the situation? The timing of the apology was itself a mystery. What led up to it? What had been going on behind the scenes of American Pickers that fans didn't know about? As the court session began, Mike and Danielle's emotions were palpable. It was clear that this wasn't an easy thing for them to do. Publicly admitting to mistakes and apologizing is never easy, especially when your career and personal life are intertwined with the public's expectations. They weren't just apologizing to Frank, they were apologizing to their fans, the people who had followed them for years and had trusted them. This apology was a way of showing that they were taking responsibility for their actions and trying to make things right. It was also an acknowledgement that they understood the pain and confusion that fans had felt over the months. For many people, the apology was a long overdue resolution to a situation that had been left unresolved for far too long. In the midst of this apology, however, the curiosity about Frank Fritz's absence continued to grow. What exactly had happened between him and the other two hosts? Why hadn't Mike and Danielle been more open about the situation earlier? And more importantly, what had caused the rift in the first place? These questions were never fully answered in the court session, leaving many people still wondering about the details. Mike and Danielle's apology was heartfelt, but it didn't provide all the answers fans were hoping for. The decision to speak publicly in court was undoubtedly a turning point for Mike and Danielle, but it also marked a significant shift in how fans viewed them. The mystery of Frank's departure had cast a shadow over the show, and by addressing it in such a public and formal way, Mike and Danielle took the first step in reclaiming their image. However, the question still remained: could this apology truly heal the wounds, both within their team and among their fans? The impact of this apology extends far beyond just the three individuals involved. It also speaks to the larger issue of transparency in the world of reality television. Shows like American Pickers thrive on the personal connections between the hosts and their audience. When those connections are fractured, it can leave fans feeling betrayed or confused. Mike and Danielle's decision to finally speak out was an attempt to rebuild that trust, but it also raised important questions about the expectations that audiences have for the stars of reality shows. Is it enough to simply entertain viewers, or do the people behind the cameras also owe their audience a sense of honesty and openness about what happens off-screen? As this story continues to unfold, it's clear that there's still a lot to be discovered. Fans are eager for more answers, for clarity on the issues that led to Frank's departure, and for a deeper understanding of the relationships that shaped the success of American Pickers. Mike and Danielle's apology may have been a step in the right direction, but the road to repairing their image and restoring their connection with Frank, and with their audience, is far from over. In the end, the curiosity about what truly happened between the stars of American Pickers will continue to linger. The court apology was a moment of vulnerability for Mike and Danielle, but it was also a reminder of the complexity of human relationships, especially in the public eye. The situation with Frank Fritz will likely remain a subject of speculation for some time, as fans try to piece together the details of what led to the rift. The impact of this controversy, however, is clear. It has opened up a new chapter in the lives of Mike and Danielle and Frank, one that will shape their careers and their personal lives moving forward. Only time will tell how this story will evolve, but for now, the curiosity surrounding the court apology and the questions it raised will keep fans on the edge of their seats. The situation involving Wolfe, Danielle Colby, and Frank Fritz has intrigued fans of American Pickers for quite some time. When Frank's sudden departure from the show was first noticed, no clear explanation was given. Mike and Danielle continued on with the show, but the silence surrounding Frank's absence left many fans wondering what had happened. Why wasn't Frank appearing on the show anymore? Did something happen between the three stars behind the scenes? Why had they not spoken publicly about the situation? The curiosity surrounding these questions grew as time passed, and many fans were left in the dark, wondering what the truth was. Then Mike and Danielle's court appearance and subsequent apologies seemed to offer an answer. But even though they addressed the situation, many questions remained. Their apology wasn't just a simple acknowledgement of their actions, it was a significant moment for both their careers and their personal lives. In the court session, Mike and Danielle opened up about the complicated and emotional situation they had been going through. But while they apologized and shared some of their feelings, they didn't fully explain everything that had led to Frank's absence. This only added to the mystery, leaving fans both satisfied by the apology and still hungry for more information. The core of the mystery lies in the relationship between Mike, Danielle, and Frank. Over the years, the trio had built a close bond, and fans could see that connection on screen. They worked together on American Pickers, sharing not just their love for antiques but a sense of camaraderie and friendship that made the show stand out. When Frank suddenly stopped appearing, fans were confused. No one could figure out what had happened. Mike and Danielle's decision not to address the situation added to the speculation. Was there a fallout? Was it related to personal issues, health problems, or something deeper? These questions only intensified the curiosity, and fans were left trying to piece together the missing details. Mike and Danielle's decision to speak in court was not just a legal obligation, it was a chance to address all of the speculation and answer some of the questions that had been building for months. But as they spoke, it was clear that they were not giving all the details. The questions fans had asked for so long were only partially answered. Their apology, while heartfelt, didn't fully explain why Frank had left or what had really happened between them. There were still pieces of the puzzle missing, and fans continued to wonder what the full story was. The apology wasn't just about what happened with Frank, it was about the damage to their public image and the trust they had built with their audience. The fans of American Pickers had followed Mike, Danielle, and Frank for years. They had seen the friendships, the jokes, and the teamwork that made the show so enjoyable. But when Frank was no longer part of the picture, that bond felt broken. Fans wanted answers not just for their curiosity, but because they had invested emotionally in the show and its hosts. The apology from Mike and Danielle was their way of acknowledging that their silence had caused hurt and confusion, and they wanted to make things right. Yet, even as they apologized, there were still questions that hung in the air. Why had it taken so long for them to speak out? Why hadn't they addressed Frank's absence sooner? Fans felt that the silence spoke volumes, and it raised suspicions about what had really happened. Mike and Danielle had made it clear that they were sorry for how things had gone, but they hadn't fully explained the reasons behind the fallout. This left fans questioning whether there was more to the story than they were being told. Was there something they were keeping hidden? Were there personal or professional conflicts that hadn't been revealed yet? The curiosity surrounding the situation didn't end with the apology, it only grew. The absence of Frank Fritz from American Pickers has left a significant mark on the show. Fans had gotten used to seeing him as a key part of the team, and his sudden disappearance without any explanation created a void. Mike and Danielle's apology in court was an attempt to fill that void, to offer some understanding and closure to the fans who had been left in the dark. But while they offered their side of the story, they didn't provide all the details, and that left many fans still wondering what had really happened. The curiosity surrounding the situation will likely continue for some time. Even though Mike and Danielle apologized, there is still an unresolved tension that hangs over their relationship with Frank, as well as their relationship with their fans. The public nature of the court appearance made it clear that this was no small issue. It wasn't just a simple falling out between friends, it was a matter that had legal and emotional implications. The apology was a necessary step, but it also opened up new questions about the future of the show and the future of Mike, Danielle, and Frank's relationships. Fans are left to wonder if this apology will be enough to heal the wounds. Can Mike and Danielle truly repair their relationship with Frank, or will the damage be too great? And more importantly, can they regain the trust of their audience, who had been left wondering what had really happened for so long? These are the questions that will likely continue to loom over the future of American Pickers and its stars. While the apology was a step in the right direction, it is clear that there is still much to be resolved. As time goes on, the curiosity about the situation between Mike, Danielle, and Frank will likely continue to grow. The unanswered questions leave room for speculation and theories, and fans are eager to know the truth. Will the full story ever come out? Only time will tell, but for now, the mystery of Frank's departure and the impact it has had on Mike and Danielle's careers remains a compelling subject. The court apology was just the beginning of a much larger story, one that will continue to unfold in the public eye. Fans are waiting, watching, and hoping for more answers in the future. The court appearance of Wolfe and Danielle Colby, two of the stars of American Pickers, was a pivotal moment in their careers. Fans had been left with many questions for months after Frank Fritz, the third host of the show, disappeared from the scene without any explanation. Mike and Danielle, who had continued filming the show without Frank, had kept silent about the situation, fueling a growing sense of curiosity among their audience. The mystery of Frank's absence was a topic of constant speculation, and the silence from Mike and Danielle only made the situation more intriguing. Why had Frank left the show? Was there a falling out between the three stars? Was there more to the story than anyone knew? These questions had been unanswered for a long time, leaving fans hungry for the truth. When Mike and Danielle finally appeared in court and issued an apology, it seemed like they were ready to offer some answers. However, their apology did not fully satisfy the curiosity of the fans. While they spoke about the situation and acknowledged the issues that had arisen, they did not give all the details that people were eager to hear. Their decision to speak in court rather than directly address the public added to the mystery. Why did they choose this route? Was it part of a legal strategy, or was there another reason? Why had they waited so long to speak out? These are questions that remained unanswered, even after their public apology. Mike and Danielle's apology was undoubtedly an important moment for them and their careers. The show, which had been built on the friendship and teamwork of the three hosts, was now facing a crisis. The absence of Frank had caused a significant shift in the dynamic of the show, and fans were left wondering if things would ever return to normal. Mike and Danielle's decision to apologize was an acknowledgement that something had gone wrong, that there had been issues behind the scenes that needed to be addressed. They took responsibility for their part in the situation, but they did not fully explain what had led to Frank's absence. This only fueled more speculation and left fans with even more questions than before. As Mike and Danielle spoke in court, it became clear that this was not just a professional issue, it was a deeply personal one as well. The bond between the three hosts had been a key part of the show's success, and the breakdown of that bond had affected everyone involved. Mike and Danielle's apology was an attempt to repair their relationship with Frank, but it was also an effort to mend the relationship they had with their fans. The silence had created a rift between them and their audience, and the apology was a way of trying to bridge that gap. However, fans were left wondering whether an apology alone would be enough to heal the wounds that had been caused. Would it be enough for them to regain the trust of their viewers and restore the dynamic that had made American Pickers so popular in the first place? One of the biggest questions that fans had been asking was why Mike and Danielle had not addressed the situation earlier. The fact that they had kept quiet for so long only added to the curiosity surrounding the issue. Had they been trying to protect their personal lives and the show's image? Had there been legal or contractual reasons that kept them from speaking out sooner? These questions remained unanswered, and the lack of clarity only deepened the mystery. Fans had been left to speculate, and speculation always leads to curiosity. Why had it taken so long for Mike and Danielle to apologize, and what had been happening behind the scenes in the meantime? The court apology was a step toward repairing their image, but it also raised new questions about the future of American Pickers. The show had been built on the chemistry between its hosts, and without Frank, the dynamic was changed. Could the show continue without him, or would this controversy permanently alter its success? Fans were not only curious about what had happened to Frank, but they were also wondering if Mike and Danielle could continue to make the show work without their former co-host. The future of American Pickers seemed uncertain, and the court appearance only added to that uncertainty. Could the show survive the damage caused by this controversy, or was it facing a decline? As the court session came to a close, Mike and Danielle's apology seemed to signal that they were ready to move forward. However, the questions about what had happened with Frank, and why they had kept quiet for so long, would continue to linger. The The curiosity about the situation would not fade quickly. Fans still wanted to know what had caused the rift between the hosts, what role each of them played in the fallout, and whether they could ever truly move on from this moment. The mystery surrounding Frank's departure would likely remain a key topic of conversation among fans for the foreseeable future. This court appearance and apology were not just about clearing up a misunderstanding, they were about addressing the complex emotions and relationships that had shaped the show. Mike and Danielle had been through a lot, both personally and professionally, and their apology was an attempt to make sense of the situation and take responsibility for the part they played in it. But as much as they tried to clear the air, they could not fully answer all the questions that fans were asking. The curiosity about the truth behind Frank's departure would likely continue for some time, as fans were left with more questions than answers. In the end, the court appearance was a significant moment in the story of American Pickers, but it was only the beginning of a much larger conversation. Fans were eager to know more, and they were not going to stop asking questions until they got the full story. Mike and Danielle had taken the first step in addressing the situation, but the curiosity surrounding the rift between the hosts would continue to drive the story forward. Only time would tell whether the apology was enough to repair the damage that had been done, both to their relationship with Frank and to their relationship with their audience. For now, the mystery remains, and the curiosity about what really happened behind the scenes of American Pickers is far from over. The mystery surrounding the departure of Frank Fritz from American Pickers has been one of the most talked about topics among fans of the show. For months, viewers were left in the dark, wondering why Frank had suddenly disappeared from the show and whether there was something more going on behind the scenes. The silence from Wolfe and Danielle Colby only added to the confusion. They continued to film the show without Frank but didn't offer any explanation as to what had happened. This left fans hungry for answers and made them even more curious about the relationship between the three stars of the show. Was there a falling out? Was it something personal or professional? What was the real story? When Mike and Danielle finally appeared in court and issued their apology, fans were hoping for the answers they had been waiting for. However, their apology did not fully explain the reasons behind Frank's absence. While they acknowledged that something had gone wrong and apologized for their actions, they did not provide the full story. This left fans feeling both satisfied and unsatisfied at the same time. They were glad to hear Mike and Danielle take responsibility, but they were still left with lingering questions about what had really happened between the three hosts. The fact that Mike and Danielle had waited so long to address the situation only added to the curiosity. Why had they stayed silent for so long? Was it because they were trying to protect their personal lives or the image of the show, or were there deeper issues at play? Fans were eager to understand why it had taken so long for Mike and Danielle to speak out and why the situation had been left unresolved for so many months. The court appearance seemed to mark the end of their silence, but it only raised more questions about what had been happening behind the scenes. The apology itself was a significant moment for Mike and Danielle, and it showed that they were willing to take responsibility for their part in the situation. It was clear that the absence of Frank had affected both their professional and personal lives. The bond between the three hosts had been a major part of the show's success, and its sudden disruption had left everyone involved reeling. Mike and Danielle's apology was their attempt to repair the damage that had been done, but it didn't fully answer the most important questions. What exactly caused the rift? What had happened between Frank and the other two hosts? And why hadn't they spoken about it sooner? The questions surrounding Frank's departure remained unanswered, and the curiosity of fans only continued to grow. The mystery of what happened behind the scenes was a topic of constant speculation. Some fans believed there had been a falling out, while others thought it might have been a personal issue or even health problems that kept Frank from returning to the show. Mike and Danielle's apology did little to clear up these questions, leaving fans to wonder whether they would ever get the full story. The fact that the apology came in court added an extra layer of intrigue. Why did they choose to speak out in such a formal setting? Was it because they were legally obligated to do so, or was there a different reason behind their decision? The court appearance only made the situation feel more serious, as if there were legal issues at play that fans didn't know about. The public nature of the apology made it clear that this wasn't just a personal matter between the hosts, it was something that had larger implications for their careers and their relationships with their audience. Mike and Danielle's apology also raised questions about the future of American Pickers. The show had been built on the chemistry between the three hosts, and Frank's absence left a noticeable void. Fans wondered whether the show could continue without him and whether it would ever be the same again. Could Mike and Danielle fill the gap left by Frank, or would the dynamic of the show change permanently? The uncertainty surrounding the future of American Pickers only added to the curiosity as fans wondered what would happen next. Would the show continue to thrive without Frank, or would this controversy mark the beginning of its decline? As Mike and Danielle took responsibility for their actions and apologized, there was still a sense of unresolved tension. They had acknowledged that something had gone wrong, but they hadn't fully explained what that something was. Fans were left to wonder whether the apology was enough to repair the damage or if the relationship between the three hosts had been permanently damaged. The mystery surrounding Frank's departure had lingered for months, and the court apology did little to bring the situation to a close. It only left fans with more questions and a growing sense of curiosity about what had really happened. The future of American Pickers and the relationships between Mike, Danielle, and Frank seemed uncertain after the court appearance. While Mike and Danielle had apologized and taken responsibility, there was still so much fans didn't know. The mystery surrounding Frank's absence had not been fully explained, and the tension between the three hosts seemed far from resolved. Fans were left wondering whether this was the end of the story or just the beginning of a new chapter. Would the full truth ever come out? Only time would tell. The curiosity surrounding the situation continued to build, and fans were left to piece together the fragments of information that had been revealed. The court apology had opened the door for Mike and Danielle to speak out, but it had also left many questions unanswered. What had caused the rift between the hosts? Why hadn't Mike and Danielle spoken out sooner? Was there more to the story that they were still hiding? These were the questions that fans were still asking, and the answers were still nowhere in sight. The mystery surrounding Frank's departure from American Pickers remained as intriguing as ever, and fans were not ready to let it go. In the end, Mike and Danielle's court apology was just the beginning of a much larger crisis. The curiosity surrounding the situation between the three hosts would continue to fuel speculation and keep fans wondering what had really happened. While the apology was a step in the right direction, it was clear that the full story had yet to be told. The unanswered questions and the lingering mystery only added to the intrigue, leaving fans eager for more information and hoping that one day they would get the full truth about what happened behind the scenes of American Pickers. For months, the absence of Frank Fritz from American Pickers had left fans in a state of confusion and curiosity. The show, which had been built on the friendship and teamwork of Mike, Wolfe, Danielle Colby, and Frank, was now missing its third essential piece. Frank's departure wasn't explained, and fans were left wondering if there had been some sort of falling out. It wasn't just a minor issue, it was a huge change for the show, and fans were desperate for answers. Why wasn't Frank part of the show anymore? Was he going to return? Did something happen between the three of them that caused him to leave? These were questions that were never fully addressed until Mike and Danielle finally took the step to publicly apologize. But while they apologized, they still didn't give a clear answer as to what had truly happened. When Mike and Danielle finally spoke out, they addressed the situation in a court appearance. The fact that the apology took place in a legal setting only added to the mystery. Why did they choose to speak out in this particular way? Was it because there were legal matters at hand that they couldn't ignore? Was there something more serious going on that fans didn't know about? The choice to make the apology in such a public official forum only raised more questions about what was truly going on behind the scenes. Fans had been left wondering about Frank's absence for so long, and now they had even more questions. Why did they wait so long to apologize? Was there something they had been hiding all along? The silence had built up the suspense, and even after they spoke, fans were still curious about the full story. The apology itself seemed to be an effort by Mike and Danielle to make things right. They wanted to address the damage that had been done to their relationship with Frank and, more importantly, with their fans. Fans had followed American Pickers for years, and the bond between the three stars was a big part of the show's appeal. So when Frank was suddenly gone, it left fans feeling like they had been kept in the dark. Mike and Danielle had continued the show, but the absence of Frank was noticeable, and it created a gap that couldn't be easily filled. The fans wanted to know what had happened, and the apology was their way of acknowledging that they owed the audience an explanation. But the apology, while heartfelt, didn't answer the most important question: what happened between them and Frank. Mike and Danielle did their best to take responsibility in their apology, acknowledging that things had gone wrong, but they didn't fully explain what had led to Frank's departure. The fact that they hadn't been open about the situation for so long only made the mystery deeper. Why had they kept silent for so long? Why hadn't they given fans any answers sooner? The delay in addressing the issue left many people wondering if they were hiding something. The longer the silence lasted, the more intense the curiosity grew. Fans were frustrated that they didn't know the truth, and they felt like they were being kept in the dark. The apology did help repair some of the relationship between Mike, Danielle, and the fans, but it didn't answer the bigger questions. Was there more to the story that they weren't sharing? What was the real reason Frank had left? The curiosity remained, and it was clear that the apology wasn't the end of the story. The court setting added an extra layer of complexity to the situation. Why was the apology being made in court? Was there a legal issue involved that required them to speak publicly? Was this an attempt to avoid further legal complications or to protect their public image? The fact that the apology took place in such a formal setting made the situation feel more serious. Fans couldn't help but wonder if there was something more going on behind the scenes. The court appearance was not just a casual apology, it was a public declaration of something that had been brewing for months. Fans were left with even more questions, wondering what the legal implications were and whether the court appearance meant there were ongoing issues that they weren't aware of. The uncertainty surrounding Frank's departure also raised questions about the future of American Pickers. The show had been built on the chemistry between the three hosts, and without Frank it seemed like something was missing. Mike and Danielle had continued to film the show, but it was clear that the dynamic had changed. Fans were concerned about what would happen to the show without Frank. Could Mike and Danielle continue the show on their own, or would the absence of their co-host negatively impact the series? Would they be able to rebuild the bond with the audience that had been lost in the wake of Frank's departure? These were important questions that fans were asking, and the court apology didn't answer any of them. The mystery surrounding Frank's absence was directly tied to the future of American Pickers, and it was unclear whether the show could recover from the loss of one of its central figures. As Mike and Danielle tried to rebuild their relationship with the audience, they also had to face the fact that the damage had already been done. The bond between the three hosts had been a key part of the show's success, and now that it was broken, it would be difficult to repair. The apology was a step in the right direction, but it wasn't enough to fully address the issues. Fans still wanted to know what had happened between Frank and the other two hosts, and they wanted to hear the full story. Would Frank return to American Pickers, or was this the end of his time on the show? The uncertainty surrounding his future left fans questioning whether the show could ever truly return to the way it was before his departure. Despite the apology, the curiosity surrounding Frank's absence remained. Fans wanted answers, and they weren't ready to give up on finding out the full truth. Mike and Danielle had taken a step toward addressing the situation, but there was still so much they hadn't revealed. The silence that had built up over the months made the curiosity even stronger. The mystery surrounding Frank's departure wasn't something that could be easily dismissed, and it was clear that fans were invested in finding out what had really happened. As time went on, the curiosity continued to grow. Mike and Danielle's apology was just the first part of a much larger story, one that fans were eager to know more about. The full truth about what happened between the three stars of American Pickers had yet to be revealed, and fans were not ready to let go of the mystery. Would Frank ever return? Would the full story ever come out? These were the questions that fans were asking, and the answers were still nowhere to be found. As long as the mystery remained, the curiosity would continue to drive the conversation surrounding American Pickers and its stars. The future of the show and the relationships between the hosts remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: the fans were waiting for more answers, and they wouldn't stop until they got them.